Welcome to The Positive Voice, the podcast that empowers and uplifts through the power of positivity and authentic conversations. I'm your host, Coach Chef Kimberly Houston. I'm a transformational life coach and hope dealer, committed to guiding you on a journey to discovering your inner strength and unlocking your full potential. Each week, we'll connect with inspiring guests, explore transformative stories, and share practical tips to help you lead a more fulfilling and positive life. So buckle up and get ready to be inspired, because together we're about to embark on a life-changing adventure right here on the Positive Voice Podcast. Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of the Positive Voice Podcast. I am your host, Coach Chef Kim, and I am so honored that you are here today. Y'all, it's been a week. Okay, it's been a week. It is currently the middle of the week. So yes, I'm hitting you with 2 podcasts within 7 days. And part of me feels like this might become a thing. We might move to 2 shows a week. We'll see how things go. But let me fill you in on what's happening in my life. For those of you who are brand new listeners, welcome. So glad that you are here. And for those of you who have been here for a while, hey y'all, welcome back. So listen, if you've been here for a while, you know that this week I started a doctoral program, and it is more than I could have ever asked for. I don't even have the words, right? Like I have learned so much in 3 days. And yeah, it's a doctoral degree, so you expect that, right? But this isn't even in the text. This isn't even in like homework. This is just in being around a new community of people. So here's something I want to discuss, because as it was happening and as it was unfolding, I was like, wow, this is new, right? Like I've never experienced this. And so for me, all week, there have been just little moments. If you watch Hallmark, there during Christmas, they have what is called a God wink movie. Where like there's just little winks from God. There's like you're on the right path, right? And so I want to talk to y'all about that, because people are always like, how do you know you're doing the right thing? You've transitioned careers multiple times. Like, how do you know you're doing the right thing? And so I want to kind of let you in on the things that I'm actively noticing that's happening right now in my world. So I started school, and one of the first things that really quickly, whenever there's a meeting, so this was for orientation, this was the first day of class, this was a workshop, it does not matter. Every single thing that we do at this school, it starts with a grounding. You start with meditation. You start with setting your intention for the time that we are spending together. Completely blew my mind, right? Like, yes, it makes sense. I'm getting a degree in mind-body medicine. So you would expect that we do mind-body stuff. I didn't know I was going to get it this much. Like, we're starting off doing grounding sessions. We're starting off setting our intentions. We're starting off taking a breath and appreciating the breath and being mindful of the breath, right? This is how we start. This is also how we end. And I was like, oh my God, this is so fun. And so I was sitting in orientation, and one of the presenters was speaking, and she was very passionate about what she was talking about. And she said that her heart rate had gone up a little bit too much, and she just needed a moment to take a breath. And as soon as she said that, somebody else came off of mute and started talking. Like, the faculty is so in tune with one another that when one person needed to take a breath, another person immediately jumped in and just kept going on the slide. And I was like, oh my God, like, this is so cool. What do you mean? And I started thinking, and I was like, how often do we not honor the breath? How often are we passionate about things and get excited about things, or we're frustrated about things, or we're upset about something, and we don't take the time to stop? We're not listening to our body, and then we work ourselves up into a frenzy, right? And so like we keep going, we go through this moment, and then Like I had a writing class last night and I was like, I mean, I like to write, but maybe it's going to be a little boring. Nope. The entire hour, 15 minutes we were on, super engaged, very into it. We set our intentions before we began. We set our intentions for the quarter or for the semester. And then, we ended with a collective breath. And so I was like, okay, this is wonderful. Like I am right where I need to be. So one of the things, and I announced this on my last podcast that I've been working on that is releasing this week, is releasing on Friday, is a mindfulness membership. And so for many, many months, I have been trying to come up with an effective way to create a mindfulness class or workbook or book or membership or something. And it just wasn't working, right? Like I could not fit the idea of what I wanted into what I was doing in my life. And so this has caused me great angst and anxiety because I typically, whenever I have an idea, it usually unfolds really, really quickly for me. And this particular one wasn't. And I want to say this probably started when my daughter was in the hospital last October. It is now May. And I had this idea then because when people meet me and I tell them that I'm a mindset coach, it's typically met with two questions. Number one, people actually pay you for that. Like you make money. Yes. And then number two, how do you get started? And so when I started my journey 2 years ago, I bought all the books I could find on Amazon. I was looking online for classes. I was looking, I started following people that were inspirational because for some reason I went, well, if it's a mindset thing, I need to be inspired. And so I started following all these inspirational podcasters or inspirational speakers on social media. And so that's all I've been consuming for 2 years. But there was still something missing, right? And I was like, dude, like, when you're telling somebody that they need to adjust their mindset, it's more than choosing a new thought. It's more than creating a morning routine. It's more than getting enough sleep. It's more than feeding your body something different. It's more than journaling. It's more than shadow work. It's more than all of those things. And I was like, I have an idea. Like, I think I know what I want to do with this, but I'm not really sure. And so I have my own coaching group, but then I'm also a coach for another coach. So I coach coaches. And one of my clients is a coach, and she asked me to coach her people. And so as I was preparing, I knew that in May, this would become a thing, right? She asked me several weeks ago, and I, of course, accepted. And so I knew that May was going to be the first month that I would be in front of her audience talking about mindset and mindfulness. And so for the last month, I have just been actively watching. I have been watching how people respond to other people. I have been watching the questions that people have. I have been watching meltdowns. I have been watching people say that they are stuck and they don't know how to get unstuck. I've been watching the unfolding of people's everyday lives. And I had to look at it from a different point of view. From my vantage point, I've done enough work on myself, and I'm nowhere near done. Hear me when I say this, but I've done enough work on myself to be a couple of steps ahead where I can look back and say, that was me 2 years ago. That was me 3 years ago. That was definitely me a decade ago. And how am I now to the point where I don't freak out every time something goes differently than I thought it would be. I'm not stressed out all the time. Like, I've learned to listen to my body. I don't overthink things. I know when to call in for help, things of the sort, right? And so I was like, how do we get people from point A to point B? Like, what does this look like? And how do we do this? And so I've just been watching for months. Well, for a month, I've been actively watching. And so this Saturday is going to be the first time that I'm in front of her audience. And when I tell you I can't wait because I'm going to speak to the things they've been talking about for a month, right? So here's what has happened this week. I was creating the course. I started May 1st. That was the first day that my online system is showing me that I started this particular class. May 1st was the day I was like, okay, we're going to do this. I did the first module, and it's mindful mindset. Mindfulness and mindset and meditation are three different things that can all be used on your wellness journey, on your healing journey, on your quantum leaping journey when you master these things, okay? These three things are individual pieces. They are not the same. And I realize that a lot of people are putting mindfulness and mindset together. They're not the same. And so I was like, what if I create a course that teaches you the difference between mindset and mindfulness and how we use mindfulness practices to improve our mindset? And so I was very excited about it. Okay. So I start recording. I knock out the first 4 and I'm like, yes, this is great. I'm going to be done with this in a week. And then I had like 3 days of feeling uninspired. I just didn't have it in me. I wasn't bringing the energy I needed to bring. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to finish it. So remember, I just started school this week, right? And so I'm doing the last ones. We've had like in-person, well, not in-person, but online classes virtually. And then one of the classes we haven't met yet, but we can see the syllabus. And so I finished 2 modules last night. I had 2 modules this morning. As I was finishing the modules, I log into class and I'm looking at what our workshops are this month. The workshops are exactly what I put into my online course. I kid you not. I looked at this list and went, oh my God. Because remember, when I set out to create this, I was like, we're going to see if it works, right? Like, I'm not really sure. These are the things I think people need to know, but I'm not real sure. Like, I'm just betting on me, and I'm betting that this is going to work. And then I get this syllabus where, and the class is called Mind Body Integration. In our integration class, and what that means is you take all the skills that you've learned and you incorporate them into your daily life. We will be taking a workshop this summer that shows us how we incorporate these things into our lives, which also means we're learning how to facilitate workshops on integration. Okay. Remember that God wink thing I told you about? When I saw that, I lost it. And I was like, oh my God, the alignment is so beautiful. It is so beautiful. And I was super excited. And as soon as I finished the workbook, this class will be live this week. I cannot freaking wait. It will go live on May 12th, which is Friday. Okay, so that was the first thing, right? I'm like, yep, we're doing the right thing. Like, I got the thumbs up from the universe. Keep doing what you're doing. So then last week I was tagged in a post on Facebook. And when I read it, I was like, this is so oddly specific. There was someone in a group looking for a trauma-informed mindset coach that has experience working with children in the kitchen. Guys, I looked at, like, I took a screenshot and I had to send it to my mother and I sent it to my kids and then I sent it to my best friend. And I was like, if this isn't my resume, I mean, it's so oddly specific that you're looking for a trauma-informed mindset coach that has experience working with people in the kitchen. Are you freaking kidding me? I am a chef, a Le Cordon Bleu trained chef for a decade that spent 8 years of my life engaging kids and families in the kitchen. And right before the pandemic hit, the year before 2019, all of 2019, once a month, I was working with young ladies that had been rescued from sex trafficking. And I was teaching them how to cook. Cooking was a part of their therapy. I am a mandated reporter. Like, I have gone through the training to be a trauma-informed specialist. For the past year of my life, I had the incredible privilege of being at the Wright Graduate University, learning about social emotional intelligence and writing papers on social emotional intelligence and going through weekly activities and discussions that grew my growth mindset and showed me how to develop as a well-rounded, very mature, socially emotional, just somebody who has their shit together. Okay. So she and I had a conversation this week, and the alignment in the conversation, I mean, like, it was to the point that my daughter was in here sitting on the floor and looked shocked. Like, every single thing that I said, this woman amened it. Everything that she said, I amened it. Like, we were so aligned. And she was like, I don't know what's here. Like, she was like, there's something here, but I don't know what it is. And she was like, tell me, what do you need from me? What does this look like? And I said, I honestly don't know. I said, you're right. There is something here. There is something, because that request was so oddly specific. That was the first God wink. Okay. Because here's what I need you to understand. A trauma-informed mindset coach that has experience teaching kids in the kitchen, that means you're looking for someone who is trauma-informed. You are looking for somebody who is a mindset coach. You are looking for somebody who has experience working with kids in the kitchen. You are looking for someone who has experience working with parents with their children in the kitchen. Y'all, that's a lot. That's 4 different people. Okay, let's be clear. I am a fucking unicorn, and I know I'm a unicorn. I've known this a very long time. And if you're watching this on YouTube, there's like unicorn stuff behind me. There's like rainbows and stuff behind me right now. Anyway, I'm a unicorn and I fucking know it, right? And for many, many years, people made me feel like that was a bad thing, that like I should fit in this box and I shouldn't be a unicorn. But then this woman had this request of 4 different people. And I looked at the responses. And, this is no shade to anybody else who responded on her post, but none of them were the entire package. They had a piece of it, right? And she could have picked any of those people and probably gotten just enough of what she needed. But then there's me. And I am all of the things that she was looking for, right? And I was like, holy cow, like my unicornness is about to change the lives of thousands of people. Okay. Now, we continue our conversation, and then she tells me the size of her audience. I hadn't even thought about that. That was the furthest thing from my mind. She could have told me she had an audience of 5. And I would have been like, these 5 people need me in their lives. Cool, no problem. Y'all, there are thousands of people in this woman's audience. And I went, oh, okay. Here we go. So let me backtrack for a second so that you can understand how God winks and alignments work. A week or so ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, during my transition from one school to another, leaving a master's program and just going into a doctoral program because it better fit my needs, and I already have a master's degree. When I made that move, it was easy. I went down a TikTok rabbit hole one night. I saw a girl's TikTok, loved it. I kept watching her TikToks. And then I went from her TikTok to her Instagram. Her Instagram had a link to her website. So I went to her website because I just want to know more about her. And on her website, she showed where she had all her training. And the school that I am now attending is one of the places that she attends school. As a matter of fact, we will be in class together in the fall. Super excited. I reached out to her. It's a whole thing. Anyway, so that's how it started. From the time that I saw her TikTok until the time that I was enrolled into the school, it was 9 days. The day that I got my acceptance into the school was the last week of class at the school that I was attending. And so I said my goodbyes and I moved on. That chapter felt finished. It felt closed. I closed the door and I kept it pushing. So during that break, right, like I had like a 3-week break in between when one school ended and the next school was beginning, I was focused on doing things for future me. So I was setting up some passive streams of income. I was working on a course and I actually started writing a book. It's about 3/4 of the way done. It needs to go to an editor and all that goodness. So all this happened in the span of 3 weeks. Okay. Alignment is when you're doing something that doesn't make sense. Now, I am a person who says that moving in silence is a trauma response. I wholeheartedly believe that, because if you were around people who supported your vision, you would not need to move in silence. I'm going to say that one more time. Moving in silence is a trauma response, because if you were around people who supported your vision, you would not need to move in silence. Okay. Okay. So as I am going through these things, I got a whole lot done in 3 weeks now that I look back on it. But during that time, I was like, there needs to be more. I can do more. I did not tell everybody in my life what I was working on. I told my interns what I was working on so that they could be aware of what my expectations of them were going to be during this time frame. I told my children what I was working on so that they would give me the space to be able to record the things I needed to record. But that was it. I didn't tell anybody else, not because I felt like people weren't going to support it, but because I was actively working and did not have time to shoot the shit about it. Okay. I knew that what I was creating was going to change lives. I knew this. At the beginning of the year, everyone has their word of the year. My word of the year was and, A-N-D. My word is actually the way I live my life. And so it is aligned with purpose, navigate with ease, and dream with intention. That was my expectation of 2023. Anything that I was going to be a part of needed to align with my purpose. If it didn't align with my purpose, I'm not doing it. Okay. So me leaving one school and going to another one, moving to the other school, even before I got in it and saw what was happening, it was directly aligned with my purpose. Me finding the TikToks and going down the rabbit hole and then going to Instagram and then to the website and yada, yada, yada. It was aligned with purpose. Like all of it just kept pulling me in and I could not stop. It was aligned with purpose. Navigate with ease. It was easy. It took me 9 days from the time that I found these TikToks to the time that I enrolled into the program. Oh, and by the way, I got a scholarship to the new school. Let's be clear, right? Navigate it with ease. Me creating the new course, easy. Navigate with ease. Me setting up multiple streams of income over the last couple of weeks, easy. Navigate with ease. And then dream with intention. I have such big dreams. My dreams are huge. One of them is that, and I've said this before, that when I envision future me has really long, gorgeous locks. Future me wears these super wide leg pants and a really cute top, and her hair is up, it's wrapped in a really pretty African print, and she has locks. Last Saturday, I started my lock journey because who I envision myself being once I have this PhD needed me to make that decision right now. Right. And so if you're watching it live, welcome to my lock journey. And so I was like, okay, I'm doing this in service to where we're going. Y'all, I can see future me so clearly. It's not cloudy. I can see me doing a TED Talk, multiple TED Talks, but in one TED Talk in particular, I can see me. And I'm wearing red, which threw me off a little bit because I don't really do red. Now, if I had been wearing pink, okay, cool, but I have on red in this vision, and I'm not sure what the red is. If I'm wearing it, I'm 100% positive that the red is making a statement, that there's a reason I'm wearing that color. I don't know what that is right now, but all I know is that when I think about Dr. Coach Chef Kim and I see her doing a TED Talk, she has on red wide leg pants and she has her hair wrapped in this beautiful red African printed scarf. Like, I can see it as clear as day. I can see the jewelry that I'm wearing. I can see the tattoo that I'm clearly going to have to get in the next couple of years because I see it on my arm. I can see these things. Like, I can hear her bracelets dangling. Like, I can smell her. I know what she smells like. She's into oils. There's a beautiful blend of oils that when she walks past, people will absolutely feel her presence. Like, I can see the future version of myself. I can smell her. I can hear her. I can feel her joy. I can see this chick, okay? Dream with intention. I asked the universe to give me the ability to see the things that other people cannot. I spent the majority of my life living it to please other people. I come from a family of educators, and they had a plan for all of us as children. There were certain things that we were going to do and that we weren't going to do. We all need to follow a particular path. And I have always been the one that kind of did her own thing, right? Like, the fact that I have an undergraduate degree in organizational development, I went to school and became a certified event planner. I went to culinary school and became a pastry chef at Le Cordon Bleu. I then went back to school and got a master's degree in adult training and education. I have an education master's. And then last summer, I started another program that was a master's in positive psychology, in humanistic psychology, that I have left. And now I'm getting a PhD in mind-body medicine. None of that was a part of little Kimberly's path. None of it. As far back as I can remember, the younger version of me was going to be a teacher. Can I tell you something? I've been a teacher my entire life. I taught pre-K. Once I stopped teaching pre-K and went to culinary school, I then was teaching children in the kitchen. I have taught adults virtually, and now I'm getting a PhD, and future me will be a college professor. Just because somebody else has an idea of who you are going to be or what you should be does not mean that that's the route that you're going to take. I am not a parent who tells my children what they have to do or what they don't have to do. I'm not the one who has to do the work. So I was not a parent who was super involved, like hardcore, you must go to this college or that college with my son. I did not do that. You need to pick where you want to go. When my son made the decision, it was time to leave. I knew before the decision was made. I knew almost 2 or 3 months before it was stated to me. I had a gut feeling my child was not going to return to the school that they were attending. And so I just made the suggestion at the end of the year last May, I made a little suggestion and I said, Marsh, I feel like you need to pack your boxes as though you're not coming back to school. Just pack them. I'm going to let the moving company pick your stuff up and they will hold it in whatever dorm you decide to go to next year. Your things will greet you there. But in the case you decide you are not going to return to school next year, we need to make sure all that stuff can be shipped. That was in May. Marshall, at this point, has learned not to question when mommy says things like this out of the blue. And I think Marshall thought they were going to return to school last year. Around July, Marshall made a decision. Mom, I don't think I want to do this. And I said, no problem. You can change your mind. This is a choice that you have. You can change your mind. And so I just made one phone call and I was like, I need y'all to ship the stuff to Atlanta. And they did. Easy peasy. Remember, navigate with ease, right? The things that we have experienced over the last 12 months where my son has been able to be here and be a part of are moments that we could not have imagined. And they are moments that I know I am super appreciative that Marshall was here. And I know that Marshall is glad that they were here to be a part of it. And I'm going to try and get Marsh on the podcast soon, but they are not at home right now. They're currently in New York living their best life. But I also knew, so it happened again, right? Remember I said my daughter was in the hospital. So while Cherry was in the hospital in October, we were there for 18 days. And the three of us lived in a hospital room together for 18 days. It was incredible. Around the end of that, I said, Marshall, you're leaving at the beginning of the year. And Marshall was like, no, I'm not. It's fine. January 2nd, Marshall was on a plane and flying out to, this wouldn't have been the first regional production, but Marshall flew out on like the first equity contracts. January 2nd. I knew in October, and not, I knew to the point that like Marshall was auditioning for a bunch of stuff. And so I just had this feeling you were here for what you needed to be here for. Marshall absolutely needed to be here for Cherry surgery. And we will do that in a completely different podcast episode because there were so many lessons from that one. But I knew like, as we were preparing to go home, I was like, Marshall's getting ready to go. It's time. Marshall needs to leave. And so Marshall leaves. And this particular assignment that Marshall went on at the top of the year completely changed the trajectory of the next 2 to 5 years of their life. Completely changed. Completely. Like, I was getting phone calls and text messages like, Mommy, what do you think about this? What would you feel? How would you feel about me moving to the city? How would you feel about this? What if I did this? What if I auditioned for this? Leaving at the top of the year gave Marshall the confidence and the courage to go for more. After we experienced what we experienced for 18 days at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, I think all of us had a different appreciation for life and for living and for doing things that made us internally happy, doing things that brought us joy, right? And so I was like, yeah, it's time to go. Like you have to live your life and live your dream. We are always going to be here. You always have a place to land. You will. I am not the parent that's ever kicking my kids out. I am not the parent that's ever going to not support my children. Like that's just not who I am. And so my kids have the comfort and safety of knowing that they can go out into the world and try all the things. Like what you're not going to do is die with regret. Like we're not going to do that, right? But by the same token, that also meant that as their mother, I have to show them this. Don't be afraid to do things. And so Marshall's on their own path and like quantum leaping, doing things that the average 21-year-old wishes they could do. The alignment and the blessing of knowing the people that we know, the relationships that have been built, and now all of those things are working in my child's favor. Well, the same thing is happening with me. All of these things are working in my favor. The same thing happened with Cherry. All of the things were working in Cherry's favor. And you have to understand that when you are in alignment, you get to the point where you're not looking at things the way they seem. You are not stressed about, oh, I don't have enough money to do this. Oh, I don't know how I'm going to do this. Y'all, listen to me. My bank account has been hundreds of dollars in the red, and I was still walking around talking about I'm going to be a New York Times bestselling author. I was still walking around saying I'm going to be Dr. Coach Chef Kimberly Houston. I am going to be someone on a book tour. I am going to be the combination of Michelle Obama, Oprah Winfrey, Tabitha Brown, and Brene Brown. Like, just because my current situation did not match up to the vision that I had in my head does not mean that the vision wasn't there. The vision was there. I understand that while I may be in a season of not having everything that I want, it doesn't mean that in this season I'm not getting everything that I need. It doesn't mean that. It simply means that you have to adjust your mindset. In my head, in my body, I am 100% positive that that woman that I see when I close my eyes, that's in those red pants, that's got these locks, she's coming. And she's going to be a force to be reckoned with. She is going to be somebody that as soon as she walks in the room, if you don't know who I am, you want to know. You want to know who I am. And she is someone who is not untouchable. She is someone who is looking for the person in the room that's not paying her any attention. She is someone who is looking for the people who are often overlooked. She is someone who is looking for the child who just needs somebody to say, I see you. She is looking for that single mom who is at her wit's end and does not know how to go on. She's looking for her so that she can share her testimony. She's looking for that woman who was recently divorced and her husband had the corporate job and she did not, and everybody told her it was real dumb for her to get a divorce from this person. I'm here to tell her my story. I understand that everything that I have gone through, it did not make sense to other people. It didn't. Me getting divorced from a man who has a corporate job and pays 80% of the bills in the middle of a freaking global pandemic. Nothing about that makes sense, particularly when I have a food service business and now people can no longer gather. And so I watched event after event after event get canceled. If the events are canceled, guess who doesn't get paid? Me. But can I tell you something? It's 3 years later and I'm still in my house. It's 3 years later, and not only do I make more money than I've ever made in my life, I make more money than he was making at the time. I have more time with my children. I have a better relationship with myself. I know who I am. I don't have to seek outside validation. I have fallen so deeply in love with who I am and who I am becoming that I understand that had I not gone through the season of my life that I went through, that there are hundreds of thousands of women who I will meet in the future whose lives will not be changed. I understand that I had to go through the season of nothing but rain. I'm not going to even call it a drought. It felt like it was raining, it was storming, and the foundation of my life was literally being washed away. And what I understand about rain is that there are several things that follow. Number one, there is growth. You need the water in order to grow. So I understand that there was growth. I also understand that this really, really cool thing happens when the sun comes out after it rains, a rainbow. But see, in my life, at this phase, you know how every now and again you see a double rainbow? That's the phase of my life that I live in. That's the unicornness of who I am. People telling me for so much of my life that I needed to put myself in a box and that I could not do this and I could not do that and I could not be this and I could not be that. Well, I'll be damned if somebody didn't ask for all of those things wrapped up in a nice little bow. Imagine all of the things that so many people told me not to do being the thing that a random stranger on the internet absolutely needed for something that was placed on her heart, something that was placed in her life. I don't know this woman. She lives on the other side of the United States of America. And the fact that a Facebook post and one of my good friends seeing this post, and she said, I couldn't tag you fast enough into this. Y'all, it just doesn't make sense, but it does when you're walking in your purpose and you are walking in alignment. So again, I'm going to share my word of the year with you because I need you to understand it and I need you to put it in your soul. My word for the year was and. And when I first said it in January, people were like, who the hell makes their word of the year and? Me, because here is why. Align with purpose, navigate with ease, and dream with intention. This year for me is not going to be either or. It's not going to be but. It's going to be and. I expect exponential overflow this year. It is an expectation that I hold. I believe that there will be supernatural things happening in my life this year. They already are. This lady looking for this very specific type of person and me being that, literally being that person, like how? Like what? Like it doesn't even make sense. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense until it does. It doesn't make sense until it does. And so if you're listening to this podcast and you are a person who has big dreams, has big thoughts, and you get in your own way, questioning whether or not this is what you should be doing with your life, listen, if your brain is wired to think it, I believe that your spirit is graced to carry it. If you are someone who has been trying to figure out if you should do this thing and your significant other doesn't support it, or your parents don't support it, or none of your friends understand it, that's okay. It's okay. Listen to me. Nobody understood why I went to culinary school. Nobody understood why I would turn down Food Network 10 times. Nobody understood why I've done a lot of things that I've done. But guess what? All of those things graced me for the season that I'm in right now. And I am eternally grateful for past me setting up future me to be the breakthrough for people I have yet to meet. I need you to understand, you have been graced for this season. You have. And you have to give yourself permission to go forward, even if you have to go by yourself. And for those of you who are going to have to go by yourself and you're like, but Coach Kim, this is hard. Let me tell you what I have written on the wall directly in front of me. This is a quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson, and it simply states, "If the road does not exist, create a new path and leave a trail." And that is exactly what you need to do. That's exactly what you need to do, friend. All you have to do is create a new path and leave a trail for somebody behind you to come along. You will find your people. Those people might not be in your family of origin. It might not be the person you lay down with at night, and that's okay. That was the case for me. My people are not in my family of origin. My people were not laying next to me at night, but I have them, a whole community of them. People who cheer me on left and right and literally cannot believe that they are able to watch the unfolding of speaking things into existence. My interns tell me all the time, I cannot believe that every time you say something within a week, it happens. It does, because I believe it. My belief is enough to shape the world that I want, and so is yours. And if you are someone who is looking for a soft place to land, you need to talk to a community of people who are going to understand that nobody else understands you. Please make sure you look down in the show notes and you join my free Facebook group. Please come hang out with us. Please come join us. You can ask me any question you want. If you feel stuck, I will walk you through getting unstuck, because that is not helpful for you. The faster I can get you unstuck, the faster somebody else's destiny is going to be revealed, because you said yes to whatever your calling is. And that is a promise. That is an absolute promise that Coach Chef Kim is here in service. And I am here to help other people understand their potential, to understand their destiny, and to understand that their year doesn't have to be an either or a but that it can be an and. So with that, friends, I'm going to leave you one more time, because I feel like somebody didn't get it yet. I'm going to give it to you one more time. Align with purpose, navigate with ease, and dream with intention. I'll talk to y'all in a couple of days. Have a good one.